Hello everybody, welcoming you from the border point Lavarishkis, Kotlovka on Belarusian side. You see the action has started and the blockage of the road for 2 hours is now in place.
Two weeks ago, Belarusians in Lithuania set up a tent camp at the border and started an indefinite protest. Today we're speaking with Vitaly Aleynik, one of the participants of the protest. Hi, Vitaly.
Hi, very nice to speak to you.
Thank you, same here. So your protest has been going on for 2 weeks already. What are your goals and what are you trying to accomplish?
Yeah, we've launched our protest and around 2 weeks have passed already. It's a bit of unexpected because people thought just to block the street, to block the main road from Belarus across the border and actually to finish the action. But since this has found such a such a coverage across different countries and such attention from various European and other countries, people just couldn't stop and have developed the protesting camp further. The objectives of the participants, of the protesters, is first of all to attract the attention of the international community to the Belarusian problems. Because the problem of Belarus is not about Belarus itself inside the country, but it's becoming more and more international. And that's why people want to show that there are still problems in the country, there is still violence, there are still prisoners, political prisoners, and the number of political prisoners has topped 500 already, which is unprecedented. And we and the people here want to draw the attention of the international community to this tragedy of our nation. And on the other hand, the requirement to the Belarusian side, which is over there, is to say open the borders for our people, because now the border is closed and ordinary people, our fellow citizens, cannot enter the territory of Lithuania and other European countries. And we hope that due to our pressure, we hope that due to the pressure that will be exercised by the European community, by the Western countries, a lot can be achieved.
Similar protests also take place in other bordering countries, but as far as we know, you were actually the first ones who got an official permit from the Lithuanian authorities to actually block the road, correct?
Indeed, the type of blocking, of the type of protest that is going on here has been supported, and the solidarity there was solidarity among other countries in Poland, in Ukraine, in Latvia, in various formats. But at the same time, the uniqueness of the protest in Lithuania is that people literally block the road, preventing the heavy trucks from actually moving, from bringing the cargo to and from Belarus. And we really appreciate the attention and the support from the Lithuanian authorities on various levels, who have helped and who have contributed to our progress with getting the permissions, with getting the authorization, formal authorization for actually closing the traffic from Belarus to the Western countries and the other way around. And it was formally approved, and people could gather at the border point Lavarishkis, it's from the Lithuanian side, and Kotlovka, which is the name from the Belarusian side, and actually stopped the traffic for 2 hours today.
So how did the drivers react to this?
The drivers were quite positive, but it's due to the approach of the protesters, first of all, because the protesters didn't just take it for granted that the drivers will be positive or whatever. Every driver was given proper attention, and people talked to each driver, explained what was going on, what was the protest about, and this resonated with the majority of the drivers, and they They were standing on their spots, understanding what it was all about. And after the traffic was opened, they also showed the victory signs to our people, saying that they are supporting what is going on and are ready to stand on the road as long as it's needed for the attention to be attracted to this kind of action.
How do the locals react to your protest?
The locals are as well quite positive. Of course, there are some misunderstandings, which is like natural, which can happen, but they are rather exceptions in the general picture. We are on good terms with the owner of the headquarters, as we call it, with the house that has been given to us by the local residents. We are on very good terms with the service people at the gas station, which do support us around the clock, which help us with the water, with electricity, with charging phones, and so on and so forth. And we appreciate this attitude, and people try to behave in line with the attitude that is given to us by the local residents.
So your protest was noticed on the other side of the border too. Did you face any type of pressure from the Belarusian side?
Yes, there was a reaction, which is like a tribute to what our people are doing in this camp, to their activity, to their contribution to the fight in Belarus. And but the reaction, of course, was predictable. The propaganda decided not to talk directly to our people in a friendly manner, like Belarusians should be talking with the Belarusians like Belarusians. But at the same time, they are building these aliens. They are building actually the wall between the Belarusians and our society. The wall is between the peaceful residents and those who have the truncheons and the unidentified uniforms. And that's why the propaganda started posting on various formal and informal but affiliated with the so-called government channels, pictures of the so-called, as we call it, residents of our prominent camp, with the personal data, with the threats, and with the calls for the to the police and to the border guards to take so-called action against those who are present here. Of course, we have shown these threats to the police, to the border guards. They were laughing at these allegations, at these accusations against us, our peaceful people, because they see clearly who these people are. They see that these people are well educated, with high education, the majority of them. They are teachers, they are IT guys, and lots of decent professionals. That's why they said, like, guys, we do understand who you are, but we also need to take the necessary precautions so that you would be safe and not to face any danger. That's why we are really grateful to the police, to the border guys, for giving so much attention to us and for providing their protection to our people here. On the other side, there was also an incident with somebody, some provocator probably from who was hired by the regime, who just arrogantly stole one of the biggest flags in our camp, and people immediately referred the matter to the police, and police reacted immediately. They started a case. But our people didn't stop, and they managed to search the nearby territory and found the flag and installed it back. So the biggest flag is still there. It's back, and it's a symbol of people's resistance here and their belief that they can solve any problems, even if there are some challenges caused by the regime on the other side.
What happens at the tent camp during the night? How do you ensure that there is no damage that can be caused?
During the night, the camp is still in operation throughout the whole night with the various shifts, and that's why the protest actually is 24/7. That's why it doesn't stop. But at night, of course, there are fewer people. Somebody is having arrest, but our guards are still there and are not only protesting, but are ensuring that nobody is approaching our camp and trying to do something wrong.
So, I mean, protesting takes an enormous amount of energy just by itself as an action, especially, you know, protesting 24/7. So how do you personally manage stress?
It is quite stressful for people because it involves a lot of communication here around with the drivers, with residents, with the authorities, and actually between the people themselves. And that's why it's, and people need to have a rest sometimes. Somebody goes home, somebody goes to work and somehow rests as well from the protest. But the beautiful side of this place, of this camp, of this protest, is there is regular change of people. Somebody, all the time, some new people are arriving, and this what keeps this camp going.
Can you show us what's happening at the tent camp right now?
Sure, you can see there are some people who have just arrived. There are some cars standing. There are some slogans still. There are some tents. You see there are big flags. This is the Lithuanian flag, which is really appreciated by the local residents, specifically the national Belarusian flag. And you see that the camp has grown to such an extent that it's quite difficult to manage it already with the existing resources. That's why we need to a little bit scale it down. And you see that there is now a big camp, and some people are sitting there because it's really sunny today, and people need to hide a little bit from the sun. But the scale of the camp is really incredible, and we didn't expect that it would turn out to be like it is when it all started.
So what are your plans for the future?
The future for us is actually tomorrow. So tomorrow we are still continuing the action, we're still continuing the protest. But in terms of the coming week, we are expecting the sanctions package to be released on Monday. So we will see what it is like, because there is still some debate, as we see some signals from the Austrian government that they're not much comfortable with some aspects, but we believe that we must insist, and we appreciate the help of various politicians, of the Lithuanian politicians, who help us to bring this message forward. And we will be expecting this package, and at the same time people are still planning some actions for the coming week, which we will disclose a little bit further, not to disclose everything for the other side of the border.
So what message would you like to pass to the international society?
Our message, our people's message to the international society from this protesting camp right at the border with Belarus, just 2 kilometers from here, is to keep supporting Belarus regardless of any sanction packages release taken or whatever. We understand that sanctions are taken by the European Union, by the Western countries, and this might be efficient, but it's not the ultimate tool to solve the Belarusian problem. And the problem itself will be solved only within the country. And we want this help to continue from various sides, be it in from the political angle, be it from economic angle, or any other involvement of various parties, again, including Russia, which we believe can be done through the international intermediaries in order to keep the Belarusian problem on the agenda, in order to help our people inside Belarus to solve this problem and to start building the country as they deem appropriate, but not as somebody thinks it should develop.
So you've been protesting for 2 weeks already. It's quite impressive. Do you think you've achieved your goals?
Based by the reaction of the people around, I see that they are quite inspired, among others, by the achievement of certain goals which have been set, which is first of all moving the topic of Belarus on the agenda in various media, on various levels in the European Union, and so on. We see that, for example, today we've had the coverage of our blockage of street in more than 10 media resources. So Belarus topic is really under the spotlight. So people see it, people are inspired, and what is more, we see that this topic is also covered in Belarus. And this this camp now serves as the inspiring point for the Belarusians inside the country itself, because our people receive messages from their relatives, from their friends, and they cannot believe that this story has lasted for 2 weeks already.
As the propaganda said that it would not be we will not be able to realize this initiative, but now it's a fact that for 2 hours the road will be blocked.
And they really appreciate the efforts of the people who are here. And this is what matters for people most of all. Not sanctions, not something else, but the reaction of our people who are inspired and who can make the real change there inside the country.
Whenever Belarusians are together, whenever there is solidarity, we can complete even the most ambitious projects, whether it's blockage of the road or anything in more national terms. And we want to say that no propaganda will stop the people, and people will be fighting for the freedom of their country in any terms they can.